And I remember back in 2007, we ended up losing our first home that we bought. My mom worked her entire life. We finally bought a home. We all finally had our own bedroom. And then within a year and a half, all of it was gone.
Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini. I'm needy, on me only, I'm needy. Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini.
Left for a minute, I did not sweat it. Look at the cash I'm spending. There it goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stroke of Success. As you all know, this show is this podcast show I came up with. The aim for this was to talk to entrepreneurs around the world that have gone through some setbacks. The gentleman right in front of you, I've been following him for probably 5 years now. I'm a fanboy. I'm literally nervous. I was nervous last night in researching the individual. Let me just share with my audience the story how I came to know Gabe. Social media, the power of social media. I got into real estate in 2018, and I saw what he was doing, and I reached out to him a bunch of times. We talked, and the surprising thing to us, he responded back to me. He shows humility and how humble he is, and I've been watching him carefully, Gabe, your career. You have gone from 0 to 100 with God's will, and God bless you. Thank you for joining us today, Gabe. Thank you so much, man.
Such a pleasure, such an honor to be here, especially in front of the entire audience that's out there listening and watching. I'm excited to be here and just share some stories and insight onto maybe some things that can happen that can help you, especially in this market as it's transitioning. So it's such an honor for me to be here today. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Gabe. Gabe, let's start with the history, man. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so native, born and raised San Diego. First generation from my family's first generation from Mexico, but I was born and raised here, down in. It's funny, man. A lot of people think San Diego's a big city or a big county. It's not really that big. From the border to about North County, it'll take about maybe 40 minutes max to drive from one end to the other.
Okay.
So I grew up in the southern region of San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Parents were. I take your parents were super rich. White collar jobs, yachts outside, private jets, all in nine. You got the empire given to you.
Exactly, brother. All on a silver tray, man. Yeah. So complete opposite. I think now that I think since social media has been out, we've been really just social media and human beings as a whole have been really to have the ability to amplify the message of everyone has a story, everyone has a background, and that's kind of the normal. Before social media, the normal was, you don't really talk about your problems. You try to hide the financial issues that you're having. But now it's okay. Now it's normalized. Social media made that okay. My background is the same, I think, as a majority of the viewers that are out there. Grew up poverty. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment in the ghetto. My mom moved us out of there. She worked 3 jobs, like the whole thing. My dad divorced, parents separated. So it was a really tough time. And my mom moved us into a good neighborhood where all my friends had big houses, mansions, nice cars, and we were the people that had a one-bedroom apartment. We were all sleeping on a bed together, and didn't have what everyone else had over there. So, for us, it was a wake-up call. But I'm grateful for the journey, man, definitely.
So how old were you? You go to high school?
I went to high school.
You graduated?
Graduated with my GED. So like the post-traditional way. Okay. I had to go into continue education afterwards, a few years afterwards.
Okay. What type of job did you have after high school?
So all mainly sales. I dabbled in dry cleaning for a little bit. That wasn't for me at all. So I got fired from that pretty fast. But then after that, everything was sales, from shoe sales, appliance sales, clothing sales, everything I could sell, I was selling at that point. It was a lot of fun. It was fun connecting with people. People liked my personality, they liked the charisma. I had a chance to just connect with a lot of different families, men, women, and they bought from me. So my most successful sales job was back then, immediately after high school, was appliances, selling refrigerators, washers, dryers, dishwashers, upselling them on the warranty, breaking it down, and crushing the sales number month after month. So that was a really cool experience.
Is that when the entrepreneur bug, the dream started into you? Was it earlier?
I really love that you asked that question. The entrepreneur bug was actually implanted or maybe awakened within me back in, maybe I'd say when I was 8 or 9 years of age.
Okay.
My father, like I told you, he had separated. They had divorced my he had divorced my mother, and I remember staying with him for one summer. It was the only summer that we stayed with him. The only long period of time that we actually lived with him after my parents had divorced was this one summer. And I remember one time, it was like during the day after a pool day, we went inside and we were sitting down in the bedroom, and he ended up pulling out some business cards, and he showed me his business card, but he started flapping through all these business cards, and then he landed on one of them, and its last name said Mendez, which is our last name. And he pointed to it and said, "This is your grandfather's business. This is my dad's business. He built this gas company in Stockton. He had 2 locations. He built 3 homes. This guy spoke no English, no education. I think he barely graduated 3rd grade. So he had no education, came over to America, and ended up opening up 2 gas stations and building 3 homes. Successful business, really did really well financially." And he pointed to the card, told me the whole story, and then he said, "This is my business card now for the business that I'm running." And after that, he said, "Yours is next." And I remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old, him telling me that, and there was just something inside of me that I never forgot. Still to this day, I've never been asked that question you asked, and it brought me back to that moment. I could still remember the bedroom that we were in, where we were sitting, the bunk bed that was behind us. I remember the card, the way it looked like. And in that exact moment when he said, "You're next," I remember having this pressure put on me that I felt from external, the outside, that that I have something to live up to, and I have to continue this. I almost felt like the torch was passed to me, like at 9 years of age, and I remember looking around, like, what is it? What am I going to do of significance that's going to matter to this world at all? Where I can look at my dad and say, "I did it, Dad. Here's Grandpa's, here's yours, and here's your son's business card." And that was something that I always looked up to, and I was so excited when I got my first business card to show him that. But to answer the question, that's when the bug was first planted in me. That's when it was awakened within me. Was back around 8 or 9 when I had that conversation with my dad.
Just imagine, Gabe, if that didn't happen.
True.
Just imagine that meeting didn't happen. What would you be doing right now? Insane. God is good, man. God is great. So you're out of high school. You get into a lot of trouble in school, like a kid, junior high school, gangs?
I definitely got into a lot of trouble. I can tell you the source of the trouble was bad friends. So it wasn't that I grew up bad. It wasn't my mom raised me poorly. It was just the wrong circle. She was gone all the time. She had 3 jobs. So right after school, we'd come back home, and I had all day to mess around, not do anything. I had no one chaperoning me. And so I ended up meeting one guy. His name was Daniel. I won't drop his last name, but I met him in elementary school. Then our bond grew pretty tight. And then in middle school, got even closer. He introduced me to a bunch of other bad guys, which I respect. I love them all, man. We still talk to this day, but we joke all the time about calling them bad guys, good guys. But anyways, in terms of the influence, it wasn't the best. And that middle school is really where the switch flipped, because that was kind of the year where I guess I blossomed, like physically, where I started to look a little more attractive. So I started to get a lot of attention from like the 8th and 9th graders, plus my friends were out there partying and doing things they weren't supposed to. And then 9th grade, man, it was all game over after that. 9th to 12th grade, fights, things I'm not proud of, but things that shaped my character, assault, grand theft auto, breaking and entry, just a lot of things in my record as a child, as an adolescent that shaped my character. But dude, I got into a lot. I got into fights. I went to 5 different high schools. The list goes on. Anything you can think of, I've probably done it.
Drug abuse?
Except that. That's the one thing that
you got very lucky.
I'm actually very proud of it, man. That's one thing that I never did. So I've never tried cocaine, never tried ecstasy, I've never tried mushrooms, I've never tried any of that stuff. Never. Not a bump, not a line, not a taste, not a nibble, none of that. The only thing that I've ever done was weed. That's the only thing I've ever done. That and a lot of alcohol back in the day. But that was one. And the reason I never did cocaine, although all my boys did it around me, man. They were all every single day. And it was cool. I kicked it with them all the time, and they would do it all the time. But I have such an addictive personality that I knew back then when I was watching them do that, I would see how they would behave. I would watch how they'd stay up all night, and I'd see how many fights they got in. I knew for a fact that if I did what they were doing, that I wouldn't come back from it. Like, there was no way. And I had no desire to, man. I was always a high personality anyways. I was always off the walls, bouncing around, staying up all night anyways naturally. So I didn't feel like I needed that.
Good.
I actually needed a downer, which is where weed came into play.
it mellowed you down.
Yeah.
Okay, so the childhood to be covered, come from not much money, but father was an entrepreneur, grandfather an entrepreneur, mom worked her butt off, right? Her work ethic is amazing, 3 jobs, insane. High school we covered. Okay, so where did real estate come in the movie, the Gabe Mendez movie? How old were you? What's the timeline looking like? What year was it?
Yeah, so 2013 was the year that I was introduced to real estate. So January or February, a friend of mine, at that time, I was doing multi-level marketing. So I was selling shakes with this company called Body by Vi. My friend Nick Sarnicola was the co-founder of the company. We're still really good friends to this day. Guy's an amazing person. I ended up joining that company, crushing it in sales, recruited a bunch of people, did an amazing job. And my buddy was watching me grow in multi-level marketing and told me, hey man, look, you're crushing in this area, but you're not doing anything throughout the day. So why don't you come into the office, TC my files, I'll pay you $500 per file. And you can make an extra $2,000 a month on top of what you're doing. And I asked him what the hours would be like. He said traditional hours. I mean, if you could show up like at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, be out by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, he's like, you're good. And that's what I did. So I jumped inside of there while I was doing multi-level marketing. I earned another $2,000 on top of the $3,000 to $4,000 that I was doing at the multi-level marketing company.
So Gabe, the question I was asking you was a childhood 2013. How old were you in 2013?
2013, I was
10 years ago. So you were
26.
26. You're 36 right now.
36, yeah.
God bless you, man. Successful. 26, the real estate thing came in. Talk about that. How did that happen?
So real estate, I got started with multi-level marketing. A buddy of mine owned a company called Body by Vi. It was the largest challenge-focused direct sales company. Again, name is Nick Sarnicola. Guy's a really good guy. We're still friends till this day. But I was a distributor in that multi-level marketing direct sales company, and I was just crushing it in sales. So I was recruiting a bunch of people, selling a bunch of product, growing within the company, got the free car, speaking on stage, just like the whole thing, man. It was fun. It was a lot of good times. And then a buddy of mine looked at, was watching me grow, and he reached out to me like, hey, dude, look, you're crushing it in what you're doing. But you're not doing anything throughout the day. So why don't you come TC my files, be an assistant for me, and I'll pay you $500 per file. I asked him how many files could I do in a month. He said you can do as many as you want, but typically people do about 2 to 4. So I ended up joining on. He paid me $500 per file. I made that money in combination with what I was doing at the shake company. And as I was doing the files, one thing happened, which was I was noticing a lot of the clients that we were working with were either sad or upset, but all of them were losing their home. And one day I just asked him, like a few months into it, I'm like, bro, like, what's happening? Why is it every time I'm going to their house to get signatures, every time I'm calling them, they're sad and upset? And then he ended up telling me that these people were all losing their home, and a majority of them were victims of predatory lending. And predatory lending, for those who don't know, is an act where the lender would offer loan products without fully disclosing what the products were and having the clients fully understand. They wouldn't approve the clients. The guidelines and standards back then weren't in place to protect the consumer. So it was up to the lender to make that determination whether or not they should be qualified. So what they would do was they would put false names on applications. They would change the income status, whatever they needed to do to get the client approved for the loan, and they wouldn't fully disclose all the details of it because they were, making obscene amount of fees on selling these loans. So it is what it is. It was what it was, and no problem. They have their life or whatever. But those families were all affected by it. And when he was telling me that that was happening to them, a light bulb went off. And I remember back in 2007, we ended up losing our first home that we bought. My mom worked her entire life. We finally bought a home. We all finally had our own bedroom. And then within a year and a half, all of it was gone. All of the birthday parties that we have and friends coming over, spending the night, people just stopping by, and, I could share a room with them. My friends were spending the night. That was all gone. And that was the only time in my entire life that I ever had that experience. Because up to that point, we were living at my grandmother's house, or we were sharing a 1-bedroom apartment. So I never had the experience of having friends over, hosting events and parties. So that one time that I did have it, it was all taken away from me within a year and a half. So that whole full circle moment took place in 2013. At that point, I decided to get my license and I studied for it. And I told myself that I would advocate for those who didn't have a voice, that it would never happen on my clock. There would never be another mother who had to lose her home. There would never be another family that had to hang their head down in embarrassment and feel those emotions. There would never be another son that had to feel what I went through. And as long as I was there advocating for them. So got my license December of 2013. And I believe there's 2 dates in every real estate agent's career. It's the day you get your license and the day you go all in. So the day I got my license was December of 2013, but the day that I went all in and made it a career was May of 2015. So when people ask me, like, how long have you been in real estate? I always tell them May of 2015, because in December of 2013, it was just my license date. It wasn't the date that I actually pursued it full-time as a career. And that's how we ended up transitioning into real estate.
That's amazing. So first year, how'd you do?
First year sucked.
GCI was what, 100,000, 200,000?
Yeah, bro, crushed it, man. You got top rookie of the year award, bro. They flew me out across the country. No, bro, not even, man. It was horrible, dude. I mean, it was bad. I had 3 months of savings saved up from my job. I went tried it out full time, and I ended up investing all of my money into suits, websites, business cards, open house signs. Like, I told myself, there's no plan B. I don't believe in a plan B. Because if you have a plan B in life, then it distracts from plan A.
100%.
The main thing must be the main thing. And that's just it. It's like saying, the best analogy that I can give everyone, it's like saying that you have a baby that's born, and but just in case this one's died, you're going to start planning on the next one just in case this one doesn't work out and you're going to have another baby. It's like, no, dude. Feed the one that you have, love the one that you have, care for the one that you have at the highest level. And once you've mastered that one, then go on for the next one, bring the next one into this world. And once you've mastered that business, then you can go explore a second business if you want to. So plan A is the main thing, and you got to keep the main thing. So I burned the boats. I went all in. I spent all my money that I had. I had 3 months worth of savings. I ran through those savings that first year. It sucked, bro. It was so painful, man. It was hard because every single time you knock on a door, you get people slamming the door, telling you no. It just defeats you, demoralizes you. Every time you call someone and you're chasing them and they don't answer after they say, yeah, you can call me, that hurts. It hurts when you find out your friends and your family are buying and selling houses with other people because they don't yet trust you. And for me, it was because of my reputation that I had in the past. But I was going through this. I was growing through that for like 6 months, man. It was so tough my first year. And then I finally had a listing appointment. And I remember securing a listing appointment month 3 into the business. And showed up to a listing appointment, did everything I was supposed to, bro. I shaved my face. I had a suit on. I memorized the complex. I knew the HOA. I knew my sales everything, bro. Like, I was going to score this one. And the only thing is, I didn't tell the client at that time, and I didn't tell anyone, was I was 3 months behind on my car payment. So I hadn't made my car payment in almost 3 months. It was like 60, 70 days past due. And so the repo man had been chasing me. They'd been calling me. I had the car in different garages, trying to avoid them. It was the only means of transportation I had. So I showed up to this listing appointment. I started crushing it, and we're vibing along the way. And then his mother runs downstairs and she yells in Spanish and asks me, do you have a blue card? And I saw the look in her face, and just when she was running down the stairs, I already knew at 9:30 in the morning that the repo man found me. And I remember just sitting there on the sofa, looking at the client and looking at the mother, and he said, yeah, I do. And then in Spanish, she tells me, she's like, they're taking it. They're taking your car. So I get up, and I remember just my heart was pounding. My hands started getting clammy. I was already thinking, like, what am I going to tell this person? I opened the door, and as soon as you open the door and you turn right outside of the front door, the car was already hooked up. And I'm in a gated community, in a little small cul-de-sac within the community. So he had to get inside there, find it, and hook it up quickly. And that's what he did. And as soon as he saw me, he just saw the look in my eyes. And I just remember feeling this heavy weight over my shoulders, this heavy weight on my mind. I remember just my heart was just shattered and it was broken. I was embarrassed in that moment. And I just started walking over to him slowly. And I was trying to hold back all the tears because, dude, I had no money. I cleared out my entire bank account. I'm finally at a listing appointment that I'm hoping I'm going to get. Everything up to this point has been failing. Everyone's telling me no. They're giving me their phone number. They're not answering when I call back. Doors are getting slammed. Family and friends are buying and selling with other people. And all of that just weighed on me in that one moment. And I was carrying all that weight as I was walking towards the car. So I'm walking back towards him and I look at him and I kind of whisper because the clients aren't too far back behind me. And I said, man, is there any way you can please let go of my car? I'm like, I have no money on me. I'm like, I have nothing and I'm working. And this is big old 6'4", bro, like dude with a beard. I mean, he has to be like at least 260, 270, huge. He's humongous. And I'm like looking up at him and he's like tatted up, bro. He has like the whole flannel shirt with like the sleeves cut off. So, you know, this dude's not playing around, bro. Like he's not joking. And so I look at him and I ask him like, hey man, can you please let my car go? I have no money left. And, you know, I'll do something. And then he must have seen it in my eyes, like how much pain I was going through and what was happening. And he changed his whole tonality, changed his whole body language. And he looked at me, he's like, man, if I could, I would. He's like, but I can't. I'm contracted from BMW and they told me that I have to pick this car up today. He's like, I'm so sorry for what I'm doing to you today. He's like, I don't want to. And I just looked at him like, okay. And I just remember just like taking a deep breath. And I remember like, all right, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to see the clients, like get it together now. So I just took a deep breath. And before I turned around, I just snapped into character and I smiled and I started walking back over to him. And I'm like, hey, you know what? You know, it's all right. They're going to have, you know, his policy is now that the car's hooked, he technically has to take it with him. So I'll just end up getting it a little later. Let's go back inside and finish everything. He's like, are you okay, man? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, it's fine, man. I'll get it figured out a little later. No problem. Let's go back inside. So I sit back down and I go back, I put my sales hat back on. I'm like, I'm going to freaking close this listing appointment. There's no way I'm not going to get this. And it's funny because once we walk inside, he's like, do you see, man, this is why I want to sell my house. I'm like, why do you want to sell it? He's like, because my neighbors suck. He's like, I know for a fact they called the tow truck on you. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, for sure it was your neighbors, man. Screw your neighbors. Let's get this home sold. So I finish up the entire presentation and he doesn't sign. And I go for the close 3-4 times. He doesn't sign. And after that, I remember calling my mom. She was at work. She didn't answer. My sister, she didn't have a car at the time. And this is before Uber existed. I had no money for a taxi. And so I was just kind of like standing inside the living room, like looking for something. He's like, hey, man, you want me to give you a ride to your office? And it was one of the most humiliating experiences ever. And I remember hopping inside of his car. It was a 2-seater pickup. You had the old school windows that you had to roll all the way down. And I remember like, it was just like this 2-seater, no cabin. There was no back seat. It was just a trunk in the back or the bed in the back. So we're sitting right next to each other as close as you and I are. And it's quiet, no radio, nothing. I have my hands like this, like crossed, just kind of sitting like a kid who's in trouble. And I remember just like looking outside, looking around, it was dead quiet. This guy just got in telling me, no, I'm not going to hire you to sell the house. And now he's giving me a ride back to the office. And I'm sitting there with like all this emotion that I'm holding inside for like an hour. And he finally dropped. So I swing my legs off. I open the door. I turn around and I look at him. Like I make eye contact with him. And I'm like, okay, well, bye. He's like, bye. And I close the door. He's up to driving off. And dude, I never cried so hard. I cried in front of my office building like a baby. And I remember just looking up to God and asking like, what is going on? I have no money. I'm completely broke. I have no car. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I remember just crying. And I remember this, dude. I remember feeling so bad for myself that all I thought about doing was just quickly getting home, crying and like closing everything up. And I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I said, there was no plan B. I had nothing else. So I'm standing in front of my building and I'm looking up at it. And I remember I remember all of the audio tapes I've ever listened to. I remember all of the speakers I ever listened to. I remember all of the seminars that I ever attended. And I remember everyone basically saying the same thing, which is keep going. At the very end of it, every entrepreneur, every business owner, every high-level person has experienced failure. Every athlete, every single person you can think of has experienced some hardship in their life. And the one message that I remember from all the books, audiobooks, YouTube videos, seminars, masterminds, the one thing I remember is that all of them went through something and kept going. I had a choice. I could have went home and cried, or it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I can put my big boy pants on. I can turn around and finish the day. And that's what I did. I turned around, I wiped all my tears off, went back inside the office, and I stayed there until 6 o'clock until my mom picked me up to go home. And I remember I just cold called the entire day. All I was booking appointments. And that right there instilled something inside of me, some character that I will never, ever lose or forget. And that was something that I carried with me since the very beginning of my career. And since that moment, when that hardship took place and me losing everything, within 6 weeks after that, I closed my first deal in 2015. It was a $200,000 condo. I made 2% commission. So I ended up making $4,000 in that deal. It was nothing. Enough money to pay my Thea back for getting my car out of the impound. Enough to put some money back in my pocket so I had some money for food. A couple of weeks after that, I closed my next deal. Then I closed my third deal. And I remember I showed up every single day. Every day I followed up. Every day I made cold calls. Every day I did door knocking. Every day it was an open house. I showed up every single day because every book, every seminar, every mentor told me the same thing and said, you cannot lose unless you quit. If you don't quit, you will win. And I was in my head. So I showed up. I closed 3 deals in 2015 and I did everything I was supposed to. I followed the playbook to a T. And then in 2016, I ended up doing north of 12 or 14 deals, made over 100,000 my first year. Then I did 160,000 my second year, $250,000 my third year. Fourth year, I think I did over 500,000, 600,000. My fifth year, I did 800,000. My sixth or seventh year, 2021, I did 1.3 in GCI. Bought my first home, ended up paying off the solar, updating it, put 60,000 into it. I took that home. My wife and I had a conversation. We ended up giving it to my mom. So now she owns that property. But we bought it, remodeled it, signed everything over to her, paid off the solar for it. Now she has it. We ended up buying our first investment home. Now that has positive cash flow. We're building a successful sales team. I'm launching my coaching program, which is amazing. We have 2 healthy children. My son's in private school. My daughter goes to a really top level elementary school. And my wife and I, we have the best marriage ever. Our kids are extremely happy. My mother's happy and healthy. My father's happy and healthy. I've been able to pay off all of his debt. I pay for his car. I help him live with his living expenses. He's now almost 70. So I'm able to support him and do that. We live in a beautiful high-rise condo in downtown San Diego in Little Italy. So everything shifted after that. And I just remember looking back at all of it and telling myself that, I never want to go back to that. And the things that motivate me till this day, still to this day and back then, was the fear. I remember how painful it was to be at the bottom, and I never want to experience that again. And the other motivating factor that pushes me every day is the pain of regret. I don't want to wake up one day, look back at my life, and ask myself, what if? What if I just would have went to the office after I lost that listing appointment? What if I just would have kept going one more day, one more week, one more door, one more thank you card? What if I just would have tried it and just gone with it? What if I just would have listened to my mentors that told me this is part of the process? I'm supposed to feel this way. What if I just would have took that shot? What if I just would have went broke for it one time? What would have happened? I never want to ask myself that question. I never want to ask myself, what if you would have launched that coaching program? What if you just would have stressed out 3 more years and seen it through? Could it have been something big? Or maybe it would have been a failure either way. But I never want to wake up 60, 70, 80, 90
What
years
if?
And regret never giving it an opportunity. So those are the things that have always motivated me to this day. And now, man, I've been blessed. All glory to God. Got a hold of my life, got baptized, got saved. My children are planted in the church. The church have an amazing community around me. And we're here today, man, because of God's good grace.
Yeah, man, God is great. Listen, I can keep going. How much time do you have?
About 3-4 more minutes, 10,
Okay,
15.
so we could do a part 2, I guess. Would that be fair to Gabe? Because I have so much to get into. So I'll wrap it up. But in a few months, maybe if you have time, part 2, because
Yeah.
there's so much. I mean, bro, I've been watching you. Your movie, ultimately speaking. I have so much to get into. Let me see. Let me pick one topic and we can wrap it up. The right girl, man. Cherish, right?
Yeah, man.
She's beautiful. I saw you guys' journey. I saw your TikTok. I'm into you, man. Like your channel, all that stuff. Talk to me. Like how important it is to have the perfect running mate, the perfect wife. How much do you say that, hey, KB, my success right now, 36 years old in front of you, is because of what Cherish has brought to the table?
Man, what an amazing question to ask and to end the conversation with. I think it's probably the most perfect question you could have asked. There's nothing more perfect you could have asked. And to answer the question, how important it is to find the right mate and how instrumental was my wife in all of this. Well, as human beings, the way that we're designed to have a mate. So as men, we're designed to have a woman next to us. And that's how we're designed to be. And we're designed to go out there and provide and secure and all of it. And the wife is there to support and to help and to come under submission, our mission, and come under submission of our vision. And it is having the right mate, having the right soul person next to you is the difference between having a truly successful life or not. It is one of the most defining factors in anything when it comes to success in business. It's the thing. It's the one thing that can tear everything from the inside and collapse an entire empire, or it's the one thing that can just watch it blossom and grow. You need to have that person next to you that brings that emotional, feminine energy to everything that they do. And I'll tell you right now, like Cherish is the number one thing that I'm most proud of in my entire life. Because I wouldn't have the business that I have to this day, because I met Cherish in August of 2015, and that was only a couple of months after I went full-time in real estate. May of 2015 is when I went full-time, and then I met her August 1st was the date that I met her. And that's the date that I actually tell everyone that we started dating, because the day that I met her, I knew she was the one. I knew she was it. The moment I looked at that woman in the eyes and I saw her, I knew she was the one. And since then, she's been with me from the beginning. So the business is where it's at today because I've had her by my side. It wouldn't be where it's at. My peace and my happiness that I'm able to do this every single day, I wouldn't have that if I felt this angst or anxiety or pressure from home. She releases me. She tells me, she pats me on the back and she releases me into the marketplace like a woman should. She supports the vision, and the thing that I love most about her is, she came to terms one day and she told me this on her own years later. She said, babe, I've been praying a lot and going to Pathfinders and going to my Connect group. She's like, I'm at peace with what I'm getting ready to tell you next. But I truly believe my calling in life is to support you 100% in everything you want to do. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. It released me into a new man. It allowed me to grow into my potential, knowing that I had a partner right next to me. And she's been in the business with me since the very beginning. Our children are the happiest, healthiest, best versions of themselves because of her. The amount of time and energy she puts into both of them. Our relationships and friends and family around us all are amazing because of her. So it's the thing that I'm most proud of is my wife Cherish. I'm most grateful for is my wife Cherish. And if there's one thing that all of you men can do out there right now in business, it's spend time in finding the right person for you, because that one person is the difference between everything collapsing internally or you having and thriving in every area of your life. And just want to say shout out to Babe. I love you. Thank you for being by my side.
Beautiful. Gabe, I'm on camera. Promise me part 2, right? You promised me, right?
All right, man. I got to promise you, man, part 2, because I know I ended up going on a tangent on that second question. So,
dude, listen, man, I just have so much, dude. Before I wrap up quickly, Gabe, social media is amazing. This is the first time we're meeting, but I had the connection with you, man. We text a few times back and forth. The connection we have, man, like we're like brothers, man. So thank you, bro. When you're in Florida, Miami, Orlando, come see me. I'll be in California soon. I'm gonna stop by. But you're doing an amazing job, man. For us men out there, we need more people like you, man. So God bless you. We're praying for you and your family, and just get it, man.
Yeah, KB, it's been a pleasure, brother. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's such an honor for me.
Gabe, we can find you on Instagram and put all your listings, your description on the bottom. Instagram, Facebook, all over, right? Social media?
Yeah, all over.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you for joining us today.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.